Thank you for joining us. I'm Jack Bradley, filling in here for Steve Lance. At their first debate tomorrow night, former President Trump plans to focus on comparing his record with that of Vice President Kamala Harris. But the Trump campaign says it remains unpredictable. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent, Iris Tao. Good evening, Iris. What do we know so far about the candidates' ongoing debate prep and strategies?
Good evening to you, Jack. So tonight, as his final debate prep, former President Trump will be joining a pre-debate prayer call with leading Christian voices from across the country. And of course, he's also been reportedly prepping with former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who debated Vice President Kamala Harris now in 2019, as well as Congressman Matt Gaetz, one of Trump's staunch allies in Congress. And today, the GOP representative Matt Gaetz and the two of them also were on a press call with reporters along with Trump's advisors, and they told reporters that Trump's strategy will be to focus on comparing and contrasting his record versus that of the Vice President Kamala Harris. They emphasized that Harris is not a new arrival in American politics and has what they call a liberal record as a district attorney and attorney general. So you should expect to hear a lot from former President Trump, drawing from Harris's past records as well as their time in office as the VP throughout tomorrow night's debate. Meanwhile, Trump's advisor Jason Miller also acknowledged that you just don't know what angle they're going to come at you with. So there remains a lot of uncertainties, but we do know that Trump in recent days has been holding press conferences and doing many interviews to show that he's the one who's willing to talk to the press and confront difficult questions. And just last week at a press show at the Trump Tower in New York, Trump told us this about the upcoming debate. Watch.
So if China or any other country charges us a 100 or 200% tariff or tax, then we will likewise charge them a 100 or 200%.
So at the presser last week, he said that basically he's willing to do it because he thinks the nation deserves him coming out to address questions, and comparing that with VP Harris, who he thinks has not been doing as much publicity as he's been doing. And that was a clip from his rally just last weekend where he laid out policies, including his strategy when doing what trade with China. So we do expect a lot of issues like that to come up tomorrow night, including trade policies with different countries, international affairs, including the two wars going on right now, and the Afghanistan withdrawal from 3 years ago, which former President Trump has been repeatedly criticizing and blaming it on the Biden-Harris administration. Of course, inflation, the border, and crime will be top issues that the two candidates will be discussing as well. Back to you.
Iris Tao, thank you very much. And now Vice President Kamala Harris quietly releases a page listing her policies 2 days before her debate with former President Trump. And TD's Jason Blair brings us the latest here.
Vice President Kamala Harris outlines her policies for the first time since her presidential campaign started. The list comes after the Trump team and others have stated numerous times that her campaign policies were vague and lacked details. The page is titled A New Way Forward and has 4 sections, including build an opportunity economy and lower costs for families, safeguard our fundamental freedoms, ensure safety and justice for all, and keep America safe, secure, and prosperous. Each section contains a list of topics with drop-down menus. The page has a total of 23 topics. Each contains 1 to 3 paragraphs with more details. Many of the topics echo what Harris has frequently talked about at her recent rallies, including a $6,000 tax cut to families with newborns, $25,000 to first-time homebuyers, and her stance on abortion. The page also goes into Harris's foreign and national security policies, saying she wants to make sure that America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century, and that she has stood up to China's unfair economic practices to protect American workers, businesses, and families. In comparison to previous Democratic candidates around this time before the election, Barack Obama's website in 2008 had 33 pages of policy details, and in 2016, Hillary Clinton had close to 40 policy sections. And former President Trump's campaign website currently features 46 video and written statements on his policies, as well as a 16-page platform document. On the campaign trail, both Harris and Walz did several radio interviews that are airing in battleground states. And last week, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney endorsed Harris. She explained in an interview on Sunday that she wants to go further than just not voting for Trump and thinks it's best to vote for his opponent.
I've never voted for a Democrat.
Harris has been preparing for the debate since Thursday with coaching from lawyer Karen Dunn in Pittsburgh. On Monday, she's traveling to Philadelphia, where the debate will be held on Tuesday. It's scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern at the National Constitution Center. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
House Republicans released their report assessing the 2021 U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, while Democrats accused the GOP of political theater. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, joins us here live in the studio. Luis, thank you very much for joining us. You know, this is going to impact the election and definitely the debates tomorrow. What was in the report? What's the main takeaway here?
Of course, well, the main takeaway comes right in the title. Representative Michael McCaul, the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, titled the report Willful Blindness. So House Republicans are arguing that the Biden and Harris administration had enough information to prevent what was the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. Now, the objectives vary depending on who you're asking. If you ask House Republicans, they say that they're fulfilling a promise from 2022 when they retook the House to investigate what happened during the withdrawal, and specifically at Abbey Gate on August 26 of 2021, when 13 U.S. service members lost their lives. Let's listen to Representative Michael McCaul just minutes ago during a press conference at the House Triangle.
13 servicemen and women killed, 170 Afghans killed, 45 Americans and Afghan civilians wounded. And the sad thing is, it could have been prevented.
So Republicans wanted to fulfill that promise by doing these investigations, but of course House Democrats believe that this is political theater because the report is being released the day before the debate. And there's also a particular point of information very interesting. In the interim report released by House Republicans last year, Kamala Harris was mentioned 2 times in that interim report. This report released this Monday has Kamala Harris 251 times. So, of course, that's where House Democrats are saying that this is politically motivated.
Well, yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like there's definitely a reason for that 250 times coming into the debate here. But as far as the report goes, recommendations, what were the House GOP recommending?
Of course. So Chairman Michael McCaul wanted to hold people accountable for what happened. So the first recommendation is to urge Congress to formally condemn 15 Biden administration officials, starting with President Biden, Kamala Harris, Antony Blinken, and the list goes on. Another recommendation, which is very interesting, is asking Congress to codify the procedures for NEO, non-combatant evacuation orders, which was what was mostly bungled in 2021 when the State Department only began the evacuation of non-combatants when the Taliban were already surrounding Kabul. And a very interesting recommendation from the report is also urging Congress to legislate to increase its oversight over the National Security Council, which is very interesting.
Definitely is. Now, as far as the consequences, the House GOP obviously has talked about what the consequences of the Afghan pullout was. We know that a lot of, when the Taliban took over, it's a more repressive regime. We have women can't go to school at a certain age. What were some other consequences here?
Well, geopolitically, House Republicans emphasized in their report, of course, the $7.1 billion worth of military equipment that was left behind during the withdrawal, the resurgence, of course, of the Taliban taking control of Afghanistan, but also some very interesting facts, like, for example, Afghanistan and China have a 57-mile border, and China has already signed drilling agreements with the Taliban to extract oil from Afghanistan.
Luis Eduardo Martinez, thank you very much for joining us here and your insights today. And now Congress will be wrangling over the 2025 budget as lawmakers return to D.C. just 3 weeks from the government funding deadline. NTD's Melina Wisecup has more details on Republican proposals to avoid a government shutdown and to counter threats from China.
Lawmakers accept the reality that yet again they'll fail to meet the September 30th deadline to fund the government. Now this week they'll consider the House Republican proposal on a short-term funding bill known as a continuing resolution. It aims to keep government running through the end of March next year, leaving big spending decisions up to the next Congress and the next president. Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries today called this proposal unserious and unacceptable. He takes issue not only with the timeline of the proposal, but also Republicans' decision to attach to it an unrelated measure on voting legislation. It's called the SAVE Act, a measure to require states to obtain proof of citizenship when people register to vote. House Republicans already passed the bill in July with support from 5 Democrats, while Democrat leadership has railed against it.
It is designed to jam people up and prevent Americans from voting.
Now Republicans are trying to put this back into the spotlight.
They want illegals to vote in this election. We need to make sure we have a secure election, so that absolutely will be part of the government funding discussions.
Regardless of the efforts in the House, Senate leaders say the SAVE Act is a non-starter, and President Biden has threatened to veto it. In addition to the spending debate unfolding this week, leadership has teed up several China-related bills. Voting on them started this evening. As a whole, they're meant to address threats the Chinese regime poses to the United States, including its buying of U.S. farmland, especially near military bases, interfering with U.S. elections, and exploiting economic loopholes, and international threats from China, like enabling Russia's attacks on Ukraine and increasing its aggression toward Taiwan. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.